What's up, guys? Jay here with Tap and Turn Gaming, coming at you today with a Tiny Leaders EDH deck tech. My general for this specific deck is Tividar of Thorn. He's a 3-cost 2/2 with first strike and protection from red, so you know that's pretty cool. But when he comes into play, destroy target goblin. So some of you may be thinking, well, that's a little bit of an oddballish commander to be building a deck, or a Tiny Leaders deck, because this is what this is. Because, I mean, other than the fact that he's a 2/2 with first strike and prot red, and the fact that he can destroy a goblin, like a very specific creature type when he comes into play, he doesn't really bring much else to the table. But this particular deck happens to be a tribal deck, and for those of you that have seen any of my deck techs in the past, you'll know that I am huge into building tribal decks. It's just so much fun for me. So this specific deck is a tribal knight deck. So knights being, like a knight in shining armor, if you will. So Tividar actually was oracle texted to that creature type. It says on here that he is a human lord, but he is in fact a human knight, and he is the only legendary creature with that creature type that's 3 or less mana cost. So, and knights happen to be one of my personal favorite creature types in the history of Magic. So I decided to build a mono white knight deck for Tiny Leaders with Tividar of Thorn as my general. I mean, I really do like his art too. He looks pretty badass. So, but yeah, that's my general, Tividar of Thorn. He's just a 2/2 with first strike and prot red, and he destroys a goblin when he comes into play. So, if your opponent's playing goblins, you'll be able to kill one of their creatures when he comes into play. So that's my general, Tividar of Thorn. First up, we'll take a look at my land base for this deck. Pretty basic, seeing as it's a mono white deck. So we got a couple cycle lands here. We got Secluded Steppe, and we have a Drifting Meadow. Just some cycle lands to draw me some cards. With this being a Tiny Leaders deck, you probably especially with this deck, the majority of the creatures are like 2 mana cost. So once you curve out at the amount of lands that you would really need on the board to be able to consistently play things, if you happen to draw into one of these cycle lands, you can cycle them away and draw a card. Next we have Emeria the Sky Ruin. Comes into play tapped, and on your upkeep you can resurrect a creature card from your graveyard if you have 7 or more planes on the board. It's a mono white deck, so it makes sense. And Rogue's Passage will tap for 1, or you can pay 4 and tap it to make a creature unblockable this turn. Then the rest of the deck is just basic planes. So we have 14 basic planes, and then we have the 4 non-basic lands. So 18 lands altogether. Alright, so that's my land base of the deck. Next up, we'll take a look at my artifacts that I run. And these are all equipments. The reason that I went with just solely equipment, because I felt like, like a holy knight, or like a paladin, or a creature like that will be equipped with some sort of like epic legendary weapon or something like that. So I went with some equipments for the artifacts in the deck. And first I have a Loxodon Warhammer. 3-cost equipment that gives the equipped creature +3/+0 trample and lifelink, basically. And it costs 3 to equip, so that's Loxodon Warhammer. Here's Sword of Vengeance, also a 3-cost artifact, 3 to equip, and the equipped creature gets +2/+0, has first strike, vigilance, trample, and haste. So basically gives the equipped creature all of Ikroma, Angel of Wrath's abilities minus the protection. And we have Godsend, a 3-cost white equipment that gives the equipped creature +3/+3. When the equipped creature blocks or becomes blocked by 1 or more creatures, you may exile one of them, and your opponents can't cast cards with the same name as cards exiled with this, so pretty cool. I mean, it's Elspeth's weapon, and she is the Knight Errant. Well, at least that's, you know, her original title when, you know, when they made the very first card of her, it was Elspeth Knight Errant. So I felt like it was fitting to have her weapon as one of the equipments in the deck. Alright, so those are my 3 artifacts. Next up, we'll take a look at my 3 enchantments that I run in the deck. And the first one being Honor of the Pure, basically a cheaper Glorious Anthem for me. White creatures I control get +1/+1, so pretty cool. Felt like it, you know, fit the theme very well. Next we have Sarah's Blessing, a 2-cost enchantment that gives all my creatures vigilance, so that's also pretty cool. And then we have Oblivion Ring, just a form of removal for this deck. Alright, next up we'll take a look at my spells, my instants and sorceries. And this is the rest of my removal package. In the instants we have Devouring Light, 3-cost white instant with Convoke, and it allows you to exile target attacking or blocking creature, so pretty cool. Then we have Path to Exile, everybody knows what that does, and Swords to Plowshares, you know, some white spot removal. Then I have Fate Forgotten as my last instant, 3-cost white instant, exile target artifact or enchantment, so, you know, just being able to have some access to artifact and enchantment removal is also, you know, not bad to have. And then my 1 sorcery is Return to the Ranks. It's a 2-cost white sorcery with X and Convoke. And it allows you to return X target creature cards with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. This card's, you know, it just made perfect sense to go into this deck. And you'll see why once I get to the creature base, because I would say the majority of the creatures in this deck are 2 or less mana cost. Alright, and now we are going to look at the creatures now. And first up, we have a Pure Steel Paladin. He's a 2-cost 2/2. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under my control, I can draw a card. And if I'm metal crafted, if I control 3 or more artifacts, equipments I control have a 0 equip cost. So he's pretty cool. You know, I have exactly 3 equipments in the deck, so it's not like he's going to net me any type of, you know, insane value, but he does have that knight creature type, and I have equipments in this deck, so, you know, he fit in. Next we have Paladin and Vec, 3-cost 2/2 with first strike and protection from black and from red. So, you know, pretty basic there. All the creatures in the deck are knights. You know, that's the theme that I went, or the tribe that I went with, is just the knight creature type. So I believe all but 1 creature in this deck is an actual knight, but the 1 creature that is not a knight does something for all my other knights, so it fit in, and you'll see that when I get to it. Here's White Shield Crusader, 2-cost 2/1 with Prot Black, and you can pay a white to give him flying until end of turn, or pay 2 white to give him +1/+0 until end of turn. So, pretty cool. Here's one of the better knights in the deck, Knight Exemplar, 3-cost 2/2 with first strike. Other knight creatures you control get +1/+1 and are indestructible, so that's pretty sweet. Here is Knight of Glory, a 2-cost 2/1 with Prot Black and Exalted, so, you know, pretty cool. Here is Spectral Rider, 2-cost 2/2 with Intimidate, so he can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and white creatures. Here is Knight of Meadowgrain, 2-cost 2/2 with first strike and lifelink. Pretty basic there, but pretty cool nonetheless. Here's Knight of Dawn, 3-cost 2/2 with first strike, that you can pay 2 white to give him protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Pretty nice. Here is Sigiled Paladin, 2-cost 2/2 with first strike and Exalted. A lot of my creatures as well have first strike. A lot of knight creatures that have been printed in throughout the history of Magic, you know, have that first strike ability. Here is Mirren Crusader, a 3-cost 2/2 with double strike, actually, and protection from black and from green. Here's Silver Knight, 2-cost 2/2 with first strike and protection from red. White Knight, 2-cost 2/2 with first strike and protection from black. Here is Order of the White Shield, a 2-cost 2/1 with protection from black. You can pay 1 to give him first strike, or pay 2 white to give him a +1/+0. Pretty similar to White Shield Crusader, just minus the flying, or being able to give them flying. Here's Adaptive Automaton, 3-cost 2/2. I stand corrected. This is actually the second creature that I have in the deck that's not technically a knight, but when he comes in, you choose a creature type, and then he becomes that type in addition to his other type, so he may as well be a knight. You know, this is a really, really good card to play in any kind of tribal deck. So obviously, when he comes in, you choose a creature type. With this deck, it'll be knights. And then he is the chosen type in addition to his other types, so when he comes in, he is a knight construct. And other creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. So he's, you know, an anthem effect on a stick for all my knights, so he's pretty cool. Here's the other creature that isn't technically a knight, but he grants, you know, an anthem effect to my knights as long as he is equipped, and that is Auriok Steelshaper, a 2-cost 1/1. He's actually a human soldier, but he lowers the equip costs on my equipments by 1, and as long as he himself is equipped, soldiers and knights you control get +1/+1. So, you know, he grants a bonus to my knights if he has an equipment attached to him, so I felt like he fit in pretty well. You know, he's kind of like the quartermaster, if you will, for my knight army of Tividar. Here's Fiend Slayer Paladin, 3-cost 2/2 with first strike and lifelink, and he cannot be the target of black or red spells your opponents control. So not quite protection from black and red. He just can't be targeted by black or red things. So he's almost a Paladin and Vec, just, you know, I mean, he's got the lifelink though, so that's pretty cool. Paladin and Vec does not have lifelink. Here is Knight of the Holy Nimbus, 2-cost 2/2 with flanking. For those of you that don't know what flanking is, whenever a creature without flanking blocks this creature, the blocking creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn. Basically, I guess the idea behind that was, you know, this creature is on a horse, so, you know, it can flank you, well, flank the creature that's going to combat with, and, you know, basically gain an advantage on it. But this card's really cool. If Knight of the Holy Nimbus would be destroyed, it automatically regenerates itself. And then it has this other ability here where you can pay 2, and Knight of the Holy Nimbus can't be regenerated this turn. Only any opponent may play this ability. So if your opponents don't want him to regenerate, they have to pay that 2 mana. So he's pretty cool. I like him. Here's Knight of the White Orchid, 2-cost 2/2 with first strike, and when he enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you can fetch up a Plains card and put it onto the battlefield and shuffle your library. If you're playing this in a multicolored deck and you have, you know, like any of the Ravnica Shock lands, you know, he will fetch you up any of the ones with the Plains subtype, because it doesn't just say a basic Plains, it says a Plains card. So, you know, you could fetch up your Hallowed Fountain or your, you know, Temple Garden or your Sacred Foundry or whatever. Here is Student of Warfare, a 1-cost 1/1 with level up for 1 white. Basically, how level up works is every time you pay its level up cost, you put a level counter on it. So when you cast it, it's level 0. If you activate that ability, it goes to level 1. If you activate it again, it goes to level 2, so on and so on. So at level 0, it's just a 1/1. If you get it to level 2 to 6, it's a 3/3 with first strike. If it's level 7 or higher, it's a 4/4 with double strike. This card was really, really good in White Weenie when it was standard legal. You know, you could drop this turn 1, turn 2, you know, play a second land, invest both your mana into the level up on this, and make it level 2, and then you essentially have a 3/3 with first strike on turn 2. So, you know, that was pretty awesome. But, you know, it's still a pretty awesome card, I would say. And it's a knight, so it fit in very well into this deck. And my last creature is a Silver Blade Paladin, a 3-cost 2/2 with Soul Bond. Basically, I'm just going to read the rule texting if you don't know what Soul Bond does. You may pair this creature with another unpaired creature when either enters the battlefield. They remain paired for as long as you control both of them. And then as long as Silver Blade Paladin is paired with another creature, both creatures have double strike. So he's pretty sweet. Alright, so that's it. That's my tiny Tividar, if you will, EDH deck tech for tiny leaders. You know, just to kind of put it in perspective, I know I talked about this card, Return to the Ranks, and how good it was in this deck. I'm just going to go ahead and rip out all of the 2 or less mana cost dudes in this deck. You know, just to kind of show you of how many creatures that could potentially resurrect. And it is quite a few. So I think I actually missed the Student of Warfare because that is a 1-cost. So Return to the Ranks will resurrect up to X target creature cards with convert a mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 creatures in this deck that are 2 or less mana cost. So you can see, you know, the value in that particular card. But yeah, that's it, guys. That's my Tiny Leaders deck for Tividar of Thorn. I know it may seem, you know, a little oddballish to, you know, play Tividar of Thorn. I mean, he really doesn't bring much to the table other than he's just a 2/2 body that first strikes and has protection from red. You know, if your opponent's not playing goblins, he's not going to destroy a goblin when he comes in. But I really do love tribal decks and, you know, knight creature types, or, well, the knight creature type, rather, is just one of my favorite creature types in the history of Magic. And Tividar was the only creature with that creature type, not on the card, but he was Oracle texted to a human knight, so and he was the only legendary knight that was 3 or less mana cost, so I went with him. You know, it's a very fun deck to play. You know, you basically just, you know, you play a bunch of dudes with, you know, first strike and protection from black and or red, and you just, you know, amass your holy knight army and you just, you know, attack your opponent with your crusading knights. So it is a fun deck to play. I really do enjoy playing it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like, comment, and subscribe. We really do appreciate your, if you're not already subscribed to our channel, that you click that subscribe button to keep up to date with our channel for Magic the Gathering content. But anyways, this has been Jay with Tap and Turn Gaming. Again, hope you guys enjoyed my tiny Tividar EDH deck for tiny leaders. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll catch you later.